What is up, everybody? So first things first, I am having a whole new home office put in. My work area that I normally do these videos out of is in complete and total disarray. It looks like the post-apocalypse scenes of Terminator, just piles of garbage and stuff and human skulls. Well, not human skulls, but piles of stuff everywhere. New desks coming in, old desks sitting there. And long story short, that means I'm relegated back to doing videos on my laptop in the smallest corner of my house. So this video is going to be kind of raw, and I apologize for it. But I was scrolling through my news feed today, and I wasn't planning on doing a video today, but I saw this image, and it caught my attention. Image Comics staffers form a union. Comic Book Workers United. So Image Comics has unionized, and honestly, I think it's odd that Image Comics is the one that does this. Because Image's business model isn't like one of your typical major studios. Image is kind of a label, for those of you who don't know, and creators can come to them with projects. And if Image wants to, they will take that project, but that creator and all the people who work on it still own it and own their shares of it. All Image does is take a little chunk of it, kind of as their pay, and then they print it, they distribute it with their logo on the corner, they market it through their stuff, and that's kind of the partnership. So really, it's just this big umbrella house of creators that publish their comics through the same logo. But now they're a union. So I'm assuming doesn't really talk about it a lot, but it seems like this union is more for the back office editorial staff, folks like that, people who actually put the comic together and get them to stores. But reading through the documentation here and their kind of list of demands, I think we find what this is truly about. So we kind of scroll down here. It talks about why they've created this union, that a lot of comic book workers are overworked. And I have heard some stories about that in some of the big studios, especially a lot of the editorial staff is overworked. I mean, look at DC Comics. They laid off most of their editorial staff last year. And the people that are left are pretty young and inexperienced and having to learn on the job, while at the same time probably having more work than any editor has that's done their job beforehand. But that's because of the current lack of money in the comic book industry. I mean, comic stores and comic book readers and customers are dwindling, and usually unions come to more established and successful companies. They're the ones that unionize because companies are making these outlandish, huge profits and huge dividends, and their employees aren't seeing any of that benefit. So unions have to come along, force those companies to share a bit of the wealth with the people that help them out. That's kind of the union way. I mean, I come from a union family, so I support, for the most part, what a lot of unions do in this country. I mean, my grandfather was part of the Rail Workers Union. He laid railroad tracks and maintained those tracks for his entire life. In fact, he was even a union president for a good part of my life growing up. My grandfather, on the other side of the family, he worked for the Aircraft Repair Guild, I think it was called. Anyway, he did sheet metal work and repairs for aircraft, mostly for the military. So both of them instilled, when I was very young, what unions did for this country. So I'm not anti-union. I just think it's peculiar to come along and unionize an industry that's not doing well. So it's not like they have a lot of wealth to share. But anyway, I don't know all that goes behind the scenes in some of these studios. So they're saying they're overworked. Maybe they're overworked. But going through their kind of list of demands here, a lot of this seems pretty normal. They want transparency in payroll so they know what others, around them are making. They want a transparent culture, company culture that has all hands on deck meetings when it comes to delegating work. So they want to be able to have input on management decisions. Career mobility by making sure that they offer open positions to internal staffers before they put them out to the public, blah, blah, blah. All this seems pretty normal. Then you get down to number 7, and that's when it starts. That's when you kind of see the curtain pull back and you see what this is. So it starts off, long-term actionable plan to address the overall lack of diversity in both general staff and management. The authors, artists, and readers who bring comics to life have never been homogenous, and the stories we publish can only improve by staffing our organization in a way that more accurately reflects demographics of our creators, our readership, and the nation as a whole. Now, deep breath. Let's get through this one. renewed commitment to company values through addition of collective voting option to immediately cancel publication of any title whose creators have been found to have engaged in abuse, sexual assault, racism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, ableism, etc. That etc. is so ominous, isn't it? Until such time as said creator has engaged in meaningful reparations towards affected persons. Wow! So this union wants a corporate mandate to say that if a creator comes aboard to Image Comics and they rifle through this guy's tweets and they find some off-color joke he made in 1997 on his MySpace page, that they can now bring that joke to light and have his entire project torpedoed. So that is really, 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 really intense in my opinion. So basically, and this isn't just editorial staff, this isn't just management. This isn't like one of the Image presidents or the head of production or somebody finds something problematic in a person's past and decides it's better for the company that they part ways. This is anyone in the rank and file can now vet any person who's working on any project with Image Comics. And if they find something in their past that they do not like, then they can shut that project down or stop it from ever seeing the light of day. That is a lot of creative or a lot of power given to somebody over somebody else, in my opinion. Because as we've seen with a lot of people, like we saw with Kevin Hart when he was going to host the Oscars, and we found out he said some pretty mean things when he was a teenager or whatever it was, and he got the Oscars taken away from him. And now we're in this whole controversy with this Dave Chappelle comedy special and everything else. And they want a corporate mandate that allows them to cancel creators. Wow. That is not something I support at all. I mean, if they want to go ahead and root through somebody's past and they find something and they want to make it public and people vote for their dollars that they don't want to support this creator, and that causes Image Comics to kick the title. Okay. That's the market telling you that people don't want to be a part of whatever this person is a part of. But if you're telling me that there is a staffer that finds something problematic and they bring it to other staffers, and then these people vote, and that management is now compelled to stop publication on a comic book, that's a dangerous line in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know if I were a part of Image Comics right now, because I don't, I put out a comic book and I don't do it alone. I have collaborators, and I don't want to risk somebody looking up someone finding something that they deem problematic and having my entire livelihood taken away. I would find a publishing alternative personally. I'm curious what the bigger studios in Image are going to be. What's Robert Kirkman or Todd McFarlane of them going to do with this kind of thing? I mean, I'm sure that they probably do their best to vet their employees and make sure they only work with, the best of individuals. But I mean, come on, you have one person on one comic that maybe said something that was perfectly acceptable 20 years ago, but isn't acceptable today. And now that can torpedo an entire, something from the Walking Dead universe or Spawn universe. So I don't see that flying. I really don't. And this reminds me a lot of what they did in Kickstarter when they unionized and they started doing major gatekeeping on their crowdfunding comic books. And you would have all these projects that would get kicked out of Kickstarter, run over to Indiegogo and sell for tens of thousands and make tens of thousands of dollars on their campaigns. That's basically money on the table that is just left from Kickstarter. And so they ended up, during the pandemic, they let a lot, when they quote unquote downsized, they let a lot of these union types go, and that power was pretty much taken away. So I don't see a positive for going in this direction for Image Comics. I really don't. And this isn't an anti-union statement at all by any means. But if your union is asking for this kind of power, it's one thing to say, hey, I want input on what my job duties are. I want to be able to know what the salary ranges for my position are, and I want clear definition for what my job is. Those are reasonable demands, I think. But hey, if I don't like this guy, I want to be able to get him fired. No. That is a far, far different job demand. So, what do you guys think? Do you think this is okay? Is this a job that, or is this a studio that you would want to work with, knowing that every one of their employees has the kind of power they're asking for in this union letter that apparently has already gone through? Or do you think this is reasonable? Do you think maybe this is the way things are going? I mean, after the Netflix employee walkout a few weeks ago, which I'm sure is part of what created this this movement. Do you think this is acceptable? I really don't, but I'd like to hear your opinion if you do. So let me know in the comments below while you're down there. Please take the time to hit like and subscribe if you like this content, want to see more of it. Help the channel grow. I really appreciate it. I think this is a crazy move for Image Comics. Like I said, I just don't think the comic industry is at a place to unionize right now. Especially Image Comics, and I don't see the big studios following suit. I don't see DC or Marvel with their parent companies agreeing to anything like this. And really, if those two aren't going to go along with it, I don't see this flying. I mean, I see a lot of smaller studios coming into this and not having the money to be able to support union demands and folding, quite frankly. I mean, that's what we see happen in other industries when this happens. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll talk about it, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks again. Bye.